Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going fabulous. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I am super excited to be part of an Altenew Instagram hop. It's an Instagram hop and giveaway. If you guys want to join in the fun, I encourage you guys to check it out. All you have to do is go to your Instagram account and look up Altenew LLC and you can join in the fun. There are prizes to be given away, and so I encourage you guys to check it out. My first Instagram hop, and I'm excited about it. Today I'm going to be featuring a mini delight set. This is the Pretty City mini delight set, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when I create my background. And then I'm also going to be using some watercolor brush markers from Altenew. These are new to me. I have the Winter Wonderland set, and I thought we would create a fun background. Since cityscapes are mostly dark shadow shadings, I thought we'd add a colorful background to our cityscape. Before I create my background, I kind of wanted to season my markers. So you can see the yellow caps on these. You have to remove the yellow cap, and then the tips of the brushes are white. And so what I'm going to do is remove the cap, squeeze a little bit out until the ink flows through the brush tip, and then it's going to help if I bring in some watercolor cardstock and then also spray that watercolor cardstock with some water. So this is one of the colors. The first color is actually called Ruby Red. It's super pretty, but I love how intense these watercolor brush markers are. Next color is Rouge, and then I'm just going to continue down the line and just season these markers. Basically, I kind of created a rainbow. I can actually keep this for another project. This is the black. I wanted to see what the black looked like, and it's pretty bold color, which I like too. So that'd be great for watercoloring images. Like on the package, there's a cardinal. I thought that would be fun to do with that. Okay, now we're going to bring in another piece of watercolor cardstock. I'm going to spray it with some water, and I'm just going to use 3 inks for my background. While I do this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the stamp set. It's a mini delight stamp set. It is a 2x3 set. It's called Pretty City, and it does have it's a 2x3 stamp. It's pretty small, but it does have a coordinating die, which makes it super neat. I've used one of these in the past videos. If I can find that video, I'll link it at the end. But small but mighty, I always say, because it does pack a lot of a punch. I'm switching colors here. I thought I originally was going to go with a Mountain Mist, but it was too light. And then I decided to go for a darker teal, which is called Lagoon. And I love the way these colors flowed together. But we're going to be using both the stamp and the die for my card today. And this is going to be, I thought, a real pretty background. And I think we're going to call it quits here. And then I'm just going to clean up my mess. I'm going to use my heat gun and speed up the drying process. So we'll just dry our watercolor background until it's nice and dry, and then we're going to continue on with our card. We'll just heat set this. Okay, once this is dry, we're going to set it aside, and we're going to do a little bit of die cutting. We're going to start off by die cutting out the cityscape with the die that came in this little bundle. It will cut out just the image of the cityscape, but I want to do some partial die cutting with this die with some black cardstock. So I grabbed some black cardstock, and I wanted to make sure my cityscape was perfectly horizontal, because I knew if I didn't add my post-it note tape, I would get it crooked. So that's basically what I'm doing, using the grid lines on my mat and my post-it note tape to keep it straight. Now I'm going to tape down my die to my black cardstock. I'm going to bring in my cutting plates here. I'll add that to my die cutting machine, and then just place the top plate over the top half of this panel. This way when I die cut it out, I'm just die cutting out the tops of the buildings, but the bottoms, that bottom straight line just continues with the cardstock. Okay, I did have a panel that was a little too large, so I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and we are going to trim down this. It ends up being about 2.5 inches. So we're just going to cut this in 2, and we're just going to use the bottom half, not the top half. So that's our cityscape there. Now after we have this done, we're going to do some stamping. I have a little bit of residual from my post-it note tape. Now this is a layering stamp. It's a 2-piece stamp set. So you have the cityscape, and then you have this piece that is the windows for the cityscape. I'm just going to use my windows. I'm going to line it up, matching the buildings with the windows, and then I'll take it and put it in my MISTI, and we're going to do some heat embossing. So I'll treat my paper with my anti-static batter bag, and then we'll ink up our windows here with my Versamark ink pad. And then we'll just stamp this, and I'm going to clear my desk off a little bit. It's got a lot of stuff on there. We're going to ink it up, and then we'll stamp this, and then I'm going to bring in some white embossing powder, and we'll go ahead and add that. Just spoon it over the top. Since the little squares, they're like little pixels on the for the window, the cityscape, I thought that was super cute. Okay, I went ahead and melted it. Have lots of powder on there, but we'll rub it off in a minute after we give it a time to dry. But in the meantime, we are going to take our watercolor background and trim it down a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of the pink or the rouge off the top, and then trim it down to a 2.5-inch panel. I'm not really measuring the length because I know this panel is going to be a little bit smaller than the height of my card base. I added adhesive behind my watercolor cardstock, and we're going to tape this directly down to our card base, which is a standard A2 size card base. It's 4¼ by 5.5 inches. Once that's adhered, I'm going to rub off all that powder that was on there. I had quite a bit. And then I'm going to flip it over and then add some foam tape behind this. This is going to go right below our colorful background. I decided to leave a little bit off the bottom just because I like that white on the bottom. Okay, once we have this done, we need a sentiment. So I'm going to bring in a circled greetings die. Altenew has quite a few of these. This is the hugs die. So I'm going to use this, and I'm not going to use a circle around it. The nice thing is it's connected just by the H and the S. So you can snip those off to use this as a sentiment die too. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I put the hugs die over my cityscape and it overhung, but I wanted to use white cardstock. So the portion that's overhanging here, which is basically the S, I added that scrap piece of watercolor cardstock too, and then I trimmed it out. Because this way, when the S overhangs, it stands out with the real bright watercolor background. And I kind of like that, the way this turned out. I'm adding some very thin strips of foam adhesive behind my hugs. Now, since the S is overhanging, I did double up the foam tape on the S, just so it's nice and even. I'm just going to remove the release paper off of here, and then we're going to kind of put our hugs at an angle, just so the S is overhanging. And then I made sure that the H was at the very end of my black cardstock there, and I love the way this turned out. Kind of real clean. For finishing touches, I'm going to use my precision glue pen. This is new actually to Altenew, which makes it neat. It's 2-in-1 because it is permanent and it's repositionable. So if you glue your items down while the glue is wet, it's permanent. And if you let it dry to a tackiness, so if you add your glue, let it dry, and then add your items like cardstock, it's repositionable. I thought that was super neat. But that's my card today. I just added a few little stars you can see here in the close-ups. But encourage you guys to check out the Instagram hop. Super fun. You could win some prizes. All you have to do is leave comments. How easy is that? Plus there's lots of inspiration with this little mini Delight Pretty City set. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a fabulous day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.